talked about surface area already this year, but now we can talk about maybe a little more complex shapes, or maybe they can miss giving us some size or some shapes. But when you think of surface area, forget looking at that for a minute. What do you think when I say find the surface area of shape? Find the area of all the sides and add it up. And that will always work. If you're able to find the area of all the sides, top and bottom, and add them up, that will always give you the surface area. They're going to give us a way that we can do it maybe, a little more concise without having to do it like if it's an octagonal prism, you've got 2 octagons and 8 rectangles. Maybe there's a quicker way to do it than doing the area of all 10 faces of that. But I do want you to be aware that surface area is just the area of all sides added together. And if that's the way you do these, when we did this back at the beginning of the year, it was okay to do it that way. They talk about this lateral area. Lateral means like the sides, right, that join those bases together. So if you wanted to find the lateral area, it says that you're just going to take the height of that prism times the perimeter of the base. And again, we could kind of show where this comes from, because the height is going to be the height of all the sides, and then the base there, because it's a right prism, the base will be the side of the base. And so if you did all 3 sides, that's your perimeter. So what's your formula? We'll talk about, probably I'm going to give you some formulas on this test. I didn't give you formulas on the last test because I felt like those area formulas you really need to know. Some of these volume formulas get a little complex. Basic. I'll show you tomorrow what formulas I'll give you on surface area, but I'm pretty sure there's one of them that I'm just going to say. It's not going to be all written out in words, but it's going to say lateral area of a prism is P times H, where you need to know that's just the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. Right? Could you just do the area of each side and add it together, and that would also equal the lateral area? Right? This is just supposed to be maybe a quicker way. So it says, find the lateral area of the regular hexagonal prism. And I kind of maybe put some answers here already. I saw when I made copies of this that I don't think I was supposed to put that in. Right? I like gave you the answer, part of the answer. It says, the bases are regular hexagons. So the perimeter of one base is 6 times 5, which is 30 centimeters. You agree with that statement? So if I wanted to find the lateral area, I'm just going to take the perimeter of the base times the height, which is going to be 30, because 5 times 6, 5 centimeters. And then the height of that lateral face is 12. So taking 30 times 12 may be a little easier than taking, I don't know, could you take 5 times 12 and then multiply that by 6, because there's 6 rectangles that are 5 by 12? Would that also work? That would also work. It's going to be the same answer. So whichever way you see it, it's going to work. Is that 360? And again, that would be area, that would be 360 square centimeters. So lateral area is just if we're talking about the part that's in between the 2 bases. If I want the surface area, what else am I going to have to add to that lateral area? Garrett? Bases, right? And there'll be 2 bases, and are these bases always congruent? So you could just take 2 times the area of the base, right? And I think that's the next one. Oh, dang it, I forgot. I wanted you to get Chromebooks. Go to Chromebooks. I got distracted. Mr. Love distracted. Okay, we're gonna go to Socrative. Come on, kids, get your things. Sit down. Alright, Socrative, Socrative, you can do student login, you can do sign in with Google, you can do probably guest login, I don't know. And this is our go-to code for a quick question. And then I want you to find just the lateral area of this octagonal prism just to make sure that we get the right answer before we move on. That'll be great so you don't charge it. In my 6-hour class, some kids like have it memorized. They're like, "What's that again?" I always remember there's 3 Ks in it. That's all I remember. Make sure this is probably older than mine. It's actually the school gave it to me also, but I was on the tech team when we were investigating what we were going to get over this restaurant. They're way more like the older kids that they're Chromebooks. Also because they're Windows products, they're like $3 more. So going the Google one where you don't have to have like and a lot sturdier. Like think about like this when like ours falls over, whereas this keyboard attaches like you don't see our kids just not knowing what it is. Here. Sorry, you all not showing it. The answer? The answer should be B, because one side is 3 and there's 8 sides, right? So that's your perimeter, and then times the height would be 9. Or if you prefer, you could say it's a 3 by 9 and there's 8 3 by 9 rectangles. But you should get that that's questions about that? So, kind of jump the gun here. But surface area, we now just have to add the area of the 2 bases. So that's your formula here, that if you're going to find the surface area of a prism, right, the bases could be anything. It could be an octagon, it could be a triangle, it could be a rectangle. So we're going to say that the area, the surface area, is, they say, L plus 2B, where L is the lateral area, plus 2 times the area of the base. So capital B means area of the base. I like this one better, because I forget what L stands for. That's too many letters, right? So I always do SA for surface area. Surface area equals the perimeter of the base times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. So when they use capital B versus lowercase b, it means the area of the base. But if you need to write that out in words a little bit, which it is kind of sort of something. Perimeter. Perimeter of the base. Not yet, but after. Alright, so again, if you forgot this, which I think I'm going to give it to you on the test, but you could always just figure that out, that you could just take the area of everything and add it together. Again, this is supposed to be a quicker way to do it. So let's look at it. It was like just super cold and now it's super hot. Yeah, like it was just like super cold air blowing on me. Find the surface area of the rectangular prism. So, one option is you could just find the area of all the parts and add them together. Alright? I'm going to use the formula just so we can practice using it, and you can decide what's faster. So, if I use the formula for the surface area, I'm going to take the perimeter times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. Does it matter what you pick as your base if you're using this formula? There has to be 2. So could the base be the top and the bottom on this? Ooh, right. So the sides are supposed to be the same all the way around. So if you're using this formula, if you're not just going to find the area of each part, your bases are going to be the same, which I agree, the top and the bottom are also the same. But what wraps around it, what connects those bases are supposed to be all the same, which tells me that this small square is the base of this prism. Does that make sense? So just be careful. So my perimeter is going to be 24. Do you agree with that? 6 times 4. And then my height that connects those two bases, that's what your height should be, is 12. And then 2 times the area of the base, area of the square, is just length times width, or side times side, which would be 36. So, the answer is the same. Yeah, there you go. 360 square centimeters. Alright? If you just found the area of each one of those rectangles or squares and added together, you'd still get 360. Alright? So if that's how you want to do this, I'm okay with that. So I think I have another question. That's not on your paper. I tried to say paper. I'm tricking you here with the triangular prism here, so let's see if you can get the answer. I have a question on the Chromebook, so as you get it figured out, hopefully your answer is there, and I want to see how we do on this. Oh, you gotta do some work on this, kids. Right? Like you don't know the perimeter of that base, true? Good old Pythagorean theorem. Oh yeah, I know. I should stop trying to save paper, right? Alright, I got my answer. Weird formula. The perimeter of the base times the height plus 2 times the area of the base. Remember what's my base here? The triangle. Answer? Two different answers.
Okay.
Not for grades. That's I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna start here. So the hard part on this is we're missing this side, right? So this is 8, so half of this would be 6, which means if you do Pythagorean theorem, you should get that this side equals 10, or that's one of those 3, 4, 5 multiples, right? 3, 4, 5. So your perimeter is 10 plus 12, which is 32. And then the height there is 10. And then remember, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. The base is the whole thing, so that's 12. The height is D. And you should get D.
I used to get it for all the time.
Oh, yep.
So I was.
Oh yeah, that works too. Like you just found the area of each one, and that always works as long as you can find their missing parts. Like you'd still need to do Pythagorean theorem to get this, but you could just take a 10 by 10 rectangle, and then you can do the 2 triangles, and you don't have to feel like you have to use that. All right? I'm with you. I'm the same way. Okay. To me, the same idea applies to a cylinder, but a cylinder isn't a prism, right? Because it's circles and not polygons. But it's the same idea. We have 2 bases connected, but instead of rectangles on the side, it's this smooth shape. So think about our nets that we did yesterday. We have our circle, and then this is just a rectangle, and then we have our circle. So if I want to find the lateral area is going to be, like, this is going to be the height of my cylinder, yes? But how long is it going to be when I unwrap that around that circle? It's the circumference, right? Because it's like this whole amount we unroll, which is the circumference, which is 2 pi r. So that's where the equation for the lateral area comes from, is you take the height times the length, but the length is the circumference. So your lateral area is just 2 pi r, the circumference, times the height. So that's just going to give you what's in between the 2 bases. And then just like a prism, to find the surface area, then you just have to add in twice the area of the base. But what's great about a cylinder is the base is always a circle, so you don't have to think about the area of the base, because the area of the base is always pi r squared. So they write it the same way, lateral area plus 2b. I think you should just write this one, because a cylinder always has a circle base. So it's always going to be 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared, because there's 2 circles. Well, I mean, I was debating whether I would or not, because, I mean, really, if you just remember the lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base, like, it really does apply to all of them, but I'm going to give you one. Well, there's 8 sections, but we're not doing all. The lateral is just the wraparound part, right? Not the top and the bottom. Okay? So, I just did surface area on this because we have to find the lateral area anyway. But again, sometimes you're going to maybe be missing something. I don't know if we're missing anything on this or not. We are we? So, surface area is 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared. A lot of calculator work. Again, not a bad idea to, write something down every now and again. My height here is 18. Why did I plug R in there? My radius is 14. And really, you should be able to type that in all at once on your calculators. Anybody have a question of where I'm getting those numbers from? I got 2,814.9.
That's what I got for
Big number, right? 18 feet with the height and 14 feet as radius. Like that's a big number. Again, if you have the formula, hopefully not that bad to do. I think I got one more question. So this one says find the lateral area and the surface area. So remember the lateral area is just the first part of our equation, and then the surface area. So notice some of these answers repeat themselves, so don't pick too early. Make sure your lateral area and your surface area match up in your answer here. So this one will be less tricky than the last one with the triangle. I think that's a typo, huh?
Well, these not used.
Right, yeah. Well, no, it's just a typo, though. Like, this just shouldn't be there. Because it's supposed to be the same number as this, right? Like, you can see that there's these A and C both have the same surface area. A and B have the same lateral area, so you can see how they're trying to trick you a little bit. They're trying to use the right one. Well, they're just rounding, right? So I think that if you round, you still off by 1. Anyway, it's close enough. I'm off by more than 1. Oh, just kidding. I'm not actually. I'm right. I was looking at the wrong answer. Mine's exactly what that is. But it's okay. It's just 1/10. What I did on your test from the last chapter with the whole round-off issue is I gave you 5/10 leeway. So if your answer was within 5/10 of what my answer was, I didn't mark a half point off. If you're more than 5/10 away from my answer, I forgot. So 5/10 is decent enough, but all right. So far, 2 people have an answer, but it's 100% right now, which is very exciting. Usually do better with circles. A is the right answer. And again, it's just plugging that into the formula. Okay? Alright, so then, throwing in a story problem there, it says, a soup can, that tends to to look like a brand name of soup, but they didn't include the name. A soup can is covered with a label shown. What is the radius of the soup can? So, what part of the cylinder have they given us if they've just given us the label? Just the lateral area, right? The top and the bottom aren't included. So we could take our lateral area formula, which is just 2 pi RH, and just like they did with area formulas for two-dimensional shapes, they're going to ask you to find some missing parts, right? So, oh wait, I don't even need this, do I? What do I need to do? I don't need the H, right? Right, they gave me the circumference, right? This is 2 pi r. This is H. H isn't really needed. So, I mean, I could find the lateral surface area and divide the 8 over, or probably what would be better is they're giving us that the circumference, right, is 15.7. So what would I do to solve that for r? Divide by 2 pi. Be careful when you're typing out in your calculator. Your calculator does order of operations, so I think, let's check it, but I think if you just divide by 2 times pi, you're going to get the wrong answer. Right? If you just type in your calculator 15.7 divided by 2 pi, which is implying multiplication, your calculator does order of operations, which means it's going to divide by 2, and then it's going to take that answer and multiply by pi. So you have to let your calculator know that you want it to divide by both of those, and so you got to be able to become calculator proficient when you're doing these. All right, and so parentheses are really important. If you don't put parentheses, you get like 24 point something. But if you do parentheses, you get 2.5 if we go to the nearest, which is very different than a radius of almost 25. So you just want to make sure you're using your calculator correctly. It's another reason I say show your work, because if you did this and typed in your calculator wrong, I at least know you had the right idea, you just don't know how to use calculator. It's still a problem. Oh look, I have one more. It's it right there. And you don't get your homework. Okay, it's fine. But if you haven't signed out, how about this one? It's a little different. You can still do it, just not type it in your computer. Ooh, the diameter, which means you're going to get your answer and have to double it, right? So start with your equation, plug in what you know. This because they gave me surface area, and I thought I could just plug my stuff in and solve for R. Do you agree with that? So I plugged in 480 for surface area, 480 pi. And then I plugged in 8 for my height, which gives me 16 pi R plus 2 pi R squared. But then it's not so easy to solve for R there, right? Like, we could make this a quadratic. Okay, so could I divide everything by pi without making my pi's go away? So since this is multiple choice, here's one option, which would not work if it's not multiple choice. We could just take our options here and plug them in, but remember that we're trying to find the diameter, so you really should be plugging in half of each of those options, right? Does that make sense? That's an option. But if it wasn't multiple choice, could I divide everything by 2 here? Would that make my numbers a little bit smaller? So that would give me, what, 240 equals 8R plus R squared. So then I could write this as R squared plus 8R minus 240, where I could do the quadratic formula, or what we like to do, see if we could come up with two numbers that multiply to give you 240 that subtract to give you 8. So if it wasn't multiple choice, like I feel like you have to do this. So let's see. Maybe use some answers up there. 12 times 20 gives me 240. And does that subtract to give me 8 in the middle? So I could factor this as 12 times 20. I want to get a positive 8 in the middle. So that would be a positive 20 and a negative 12. So you get r equals 12 or r equals negative 20. R can't equal a negative value. So that means that your radius is 12. They asked for the diameter. Right? And so, just, not that that's going to show up all the time, but just to kind of remind you of some quadratic stuff. Well, because I'm solving it equal to 0, right? Remember the zero product property? If you have two things multiplied to give you 0, you're saying r minus 12 equals 0. So when I solve that, that's giving me r equals 12. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so again, surface area, you've done a lot, but now we can throw in some extra stuff because we're super smart now. You've been taught a lot of stuff now. How about that? So you're doing 9 through 24 multiple to 3, 25, and 36. Not that many problems. Not that many, hopefully, tricky problems. You have about 10 minutes. You could get started on this. We'll go over it tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to throw in surface area of pyramids and cones, and then we're going to spend a couple days on volume. So that's kind of the plan. Make sure you sign off. Also, don't forget about test correction, and if you want to retake that test, right, when should I give those tests back? Monday, so next Monday is the last day to do that.
But we have to have only
So you do 1 week from the day I pass it out, always.
I have to. Whether notes going, but kind of understand like going through.
Just like we define these words, and I'll put them on the classroom right now, like written on, or you can mark.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the test correction.